What's up everyone? Welcome to New View Tech Review. My name is David Gelly, and today we're going to talk about some random stuff that I haven't had the chance to talk to you guys about because I've been so stupidly busy. So here we are, I have the time, so let's just get into it. So the few things that I want to talk about today are the iPhone 11 Pro, the Pixel 4, and the Apple Airpods that were just announced and I think are available today. What is today? The 30th. I think they're available today. So anyway, we're gonna start with the iPhone 11 Pro. So I have the iPhone 11 Pro right here. It's the midnight green variant, which I gotta say, it just looks sexy. It looks really good. I usually go for the space gray variants, but if they keep doing this color, I'm gonna keep buying this one because it just looks so cool. I mean, it's like a bluish, greenish, grayish color, and I just love it. So props to Apple on that. So the second thing I would say that I like about the iPhone 11 Pro is actually the camera design. When I saw the renders, I was very skeptical and I actually hated it at first, and I was like, why don't they just do a vertical, lineup of the camera lenses? But I don't know, now that I see it in person, that's kind of always the case. It just looks better. You know, when you see it in person, it just looks better. It's got high quality materials. It does look really good. And what you're getting with that setup, especially the wide angle lens, you can't complain. And that actually brings me to the next thing that I really like on this phone, and that's the wide angle lens. Being able to go from a zoomed up telephoto lens to a medium range to a wide open range on the wide angle lens, it's just really cool. And sometimes it can warp the subject. It can make you look a little distorted. So it doesn't work in all situations, but it's pretty awesome. So I'm not sure why some manufacturers, Google, aren't putting it on their phones, and we'll get to that. But I don't know, I really enjoyed it on this phone. The next thing on my list would probably be the display. It's nice and contrasty, the saturation's on point, text is clean and sharp. It's really, really, really good. You know, you can probably get better with, you can get better with a Samsung device, but this would probably, in my opinion, be second in line. So I don't know what more to say other than it's just a great display. And then of course there's the stereo speakers, which is becoming pretty standard on most flagships these days. But I would say that Apple's really taking the lead on it, in my opinion. I mean, we got some good bass, good mids, good highs. It's really well balanced for such a small package to output such good audio at such a high volume. So that's the short list of things that I like about the iPhone 11 Pro. Now we'll move on to the things that I don't like so much. Starting with battery. They claim that it has 4 hours longer battery life than the XS, and I'm not seeing that one bit. I'm actually seeing less battery life than the XS. It's usually at 10% when I'm going to bed, which in my opinion is not very good. I would usually end with about 30% with the XS. It's pretty bad. So I mean, maybe a software update will change that. I'm hoping so, but in my experience using the phone, it's definitely not what they claimed. All right, moving on to the next thing that I'm not so fond of is that the front of the phone looks the exact same as the previous model and the model before that. I thought we were supposed to get like a refresh every 2 years, or at least that was the rhythm that they were in, but now who knows what they're doing. But at least we can say we got a new design on the back this year. It's just that we look at the front of the phone all the time. 90% of the time, 95% of the time, we're looking at the display. So it'd be nice if it could be just something new and fresh. But we've had the same thing for 3 years now, so I think it's time for an upgrade, which we're supposedly gonna get next year. So maybe hold out till next year if you're looking for a new iPhone and you're sick of this design. I don't know, it's up to you. And the next thing that I really don't like about this phone is that they removed 3D Touch. I know some of you could care less, but I used it all the time on the notifications menu. I used it for shortcuts with the apps. I used it all the time whenever I could use it. And I know they replaced it with the long press, but it's just not the same. I keep trying to push in the screen and just trying to make it work, but it won't. So thanks Apple for introducing it and then taking it away. Overall, I would just say that this phone isn't really worthy of the Pro name. I mean, it's a really good phone. It's fast. It's got great cameras. I mean, there's a lot of things to like about it, but without the fresh design, no 3D touch, the battery life not being the best, I don't know, it's just kind of meh. It's kind of that in between where it's nice to have, but you don't need it. That's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. So the next phone I want to talk about is the Pixel 4 and the Pixel 4 XL. And let's start with the stuff that I like. Let's do that. All right, so of course there's the 90 Hz display, which I haven't seen for myself. I've held the Pixel 4 in my hand, but I never actually turned on the display. So I can only imagine it's just nice, you know, buttery smooth performance with stock Android and the 90 hertz display. That working together, I'm sure is just amazing. I need to test it out for myself, but yeah, on paper, that's awesome. And then there's the fact that these phones get updates regularly and consistently, and they get updates for a long time. So that's definitely something to consider when you're thinking about buying the Pixel 4 or the Pixel 3 or even the Pixel 2, which was my favorite, by the way. But the last thing that I like about this phone are the color variants. They're awesome, except for the black one that's glossy. That is a fingerprint magnet. I've seen that one in person. Ugh, don't get that one. But the other colors, they're awesome. All right, so moving on to a couple things that I don't like about this phone. First off would probably be the design. I'm not a huge fan of it. I like the colors and I like the matte finish, but the rest of it, it just seems kind of boring. And maybe that's just me, but it just seems like they're not really innovating and trying out new design concepts. And the fact that the back camera lens is a square, just like the iPhone, and maybe Apple ripped them off or they ripped Apple off, I don't know, but it's just kind of boring to me. And as long as we're talking about that square camera lens on the back, I've got to mention that there's no wide angle lens, and I'll have to agree with MKBHD that they should have included that. It's not a deal breaker, but why not include that? You know, their big thing is their cameras. You know, that's what the Pixels are really known for, other than getting updates, you know, before every other Android device. But their cameras are what everyone talks about. So it seems strange that they wouldn't include that. So once again, not a deal breaker for me, but it's just kind of a bummer. And something I should have mentioned before when I was talking about the design is that forehead and that chin. It just looks bad. I mean, some people might prefer that to the notch at the top, that huge notch on the Pixel 3, but it's 2019 and there's a lot of other phones out there with full screen displays, and this just looks outdated. Ugh, sometimes I just don't know. And last but not least, I wanted to talk about the Apple Airpods Pro. Of course, they're putting Pro in the name because they're doing that with all their devices so they can just sell more units. So my take on in-ear headphones is that they just make my head feel like it's gonna explode. I don't like the pressure on my eardrums, and I understand that the audio can sound a lot better because it's blocking out noise, but the pressure on my eardrums, it just feels like I'm underwater or on a plane. I just don't like that. Some people love them, but I don't know, I just have a thing with that. So the thing that I like about the original AirPods is that they just kind of sat in your ears. It didn't block out noise very well, and they could fall out if you're not careful, but that's one thing I liked about them. Now with these new AirPods, they do have the squishy tips and it does stick into your ears, but Apple did include an air ventilation system for air to kind of flow between your eardrum and the outside world, so it doesn't feel like you're being squished. So we'll see how that actually translates when actually using them, but it sounds like a really good idea. And then there's that price tag of $249. Man, Apple, you trying to make me go broke? I just don't think that they're actually worth that much. I've used a lot of different Bluetooth headphones, LG Tones, obviously the Mix Eater Bluetooth headphones, and there's much cheaper options that probably sound a lot better, but because Apple can slap their brand on it and put it on the package, they obviously can charge way more. One thing that I will say that I like about the AirPods Pro is the design, and that's actually one thing that a lot of people have been mocking and saying it looks like the Pokemon Bellsprout and it looks like a hairdryer. I mean, they're not wrong, but it's a fresh new design, and I feel like if they would have kept the same old design, people would have complained about that. So innovation is good, and it makes room for new concepts like the air ventilation and active noise cancellation and all that kind of stuff. So good job, Apple, for working on new concepts and new designs. That's good. So if you really want something that's easy to use with your iPhone and it's cohesive, then yeah, of course, buy these if you can afford it. But there's way better options out there for way less, so keep that in mind. And really quickly, before we wrap up, I want to clear something up with you guys, or at least a few of you from the comments section. I am not just an Apple fanboy. I review Android phones all the time, and you guys will still leave comments saying that I'm just an Apple fanboy. I'm not. Yeah, I use one. Big deal. I just simply like to use it because it communicates well with my MacBook when I'm taking notes and stuff like that, and it just shows up on the MacBook. It's just easier for video production. It's easier in general. I know Android phones can do stuff like that as well, but it's just very easy and it works, and that's all I need it to do, is just work. It's a good phone. All right, so that's where we're gonna leave it today. If you guys like this style of video, just let me know in the comments section down below. I'll keep doing them if you like it. Otherwise, click one of the next two videos right over here to keep watching. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you over in the next one.